guys, it's me again. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about because I know from the comments I get on my videos, I've been very open to the fact that I'm a shopaholic. Um, Let me put it this way, I'm a reformed shopaholic, and so many of my viewers have the same problem. And what helped me finally, I would rack my brains like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Because when I was younger, I did not have this problem. I didn't develop this problem until I was almost 40 years old. So something usually happens to a person to trigger any behavior that becomes obsessive. Okay. So it took quite a while for me to get to the root of the problem. And I started journaling and writing down a lot of my feelings and analyzing what may have happened when I reached the ripe old age of around 40 to finally trigger this. Because when I was younger, I was actually pretty frugal. I worked part-time most of the time. I did work full-time for a while, but then when I had my children, I went to work part-time. I stayed home with them for the first 3 years. I have 3 children. So for the first 3 years, I stayed home with them. My first husband and we lived on a police officer's salary, so, that's not a whole lot. And we were perfectly fine with that. We weren't in a lot of debt. We had our own house. We didn't own it upright, of course. We had a mortgage. We drove secondhand cars. I made some of my children's clothing. I made some of my clothing. And I didn't feel like I was missing anything. I wasn't deprived of anything. We were anything but rich, but we weren't dirt poor either. But we did have to watch our budget. So after analyzing what happened to me to trigger this, it sort of happened when I got divorced the first time. Now, I've been divorced twice, and I've kind of learned over the years that the only person that I truly, truly can depend on is myself. And I mean, spouses, even if you're married forever and a day, eventually your spouse may die or something might happen that you split up or, but the bottom line is you have to be able to provide and rely on yourself. So when I first got divorced, my children and I did stay in our house, and I had to buy my husband, my ex-husband, I bought him out. And I mean, we remained friends, but when that happened, of course, we split things up. And for the first year that I lived in the house by myself, I didn't have a bed. I slept on a sofa, and because my ex-husband had back problems, I said, you take the bed, I'll be fine. And I didn't have a job, just a part-time job. And when we were married, the money that I made was sort of our play money, and it bought the groceries. So it wasn't anything that I could depend on to make a living. So, and I was never a person that wanted to go for revenge or the jugular or anything like that. I wanted both of us, when we split up, to have a decent life. But it took me a while, and I did find a job, and then I decided to go back to school, and I was a hairdresser for 30 years, which is fine. But the problem with being a hairdresser at the time, I don't know how it is now, but you didn't have benefits. Um, you relied on the tips you made, and you got a portion. I think it was 50%. So if you charged $20 for a haircut, you got $10, and the salon got $10. So unless you had a huge clientele, it was really hard to provide for a family with 3 children on that type of salary. So I went back to school and I got my RN degree. And that was the first time in my life where I actually made some decent money. And I could afford more things. And it took me, probably a good 8 years, if not longer, to finish up my degree because I had to go part-time. I had children and I had to work. And sometimes I worked 3 part-time jobs, just to put food on the table and to be able to take care of myself. So having gone through that process, once I started making a decent wage and I could afford some things, I went crazy. It was like I don't have to pinch every penny. I don't have to turn every dime. So that's my personal story, and that's what happened to me. And then that went on for quite a few years where it's like I don't have to deny myself things anymore. I can buy things, I can, you know, but for me, after a while, I realized that that's really not what's important in life, are all the things. But because I did have this shopping problem now, that I probably had for probably a good 10 years, um, it became a problem because I wasn't in a lot of debt. I did have some debt, but it was just a little thing in the back of my mind going, you don't have to deny yourself anything. You struggled and you got through it, and now you don't have to deny yourself anything, which was not good thinking on my part because it got me into some trouble. First of all, I acquired way too much stuff, way more than I ever needed, and that money would have been much better spent or not spent. Let me put it that way. So it took me a while, but I kind of came to realize that that was not a lifestyle that I wanted to continue to use or to be in. And so, but once you get in that habit, breaking that habit becomes a little difficult because that was my thing that I used to soothe myself whenever I had a problem because it felt good. If I was not feeling good about something, I went shopping. It's like, and it was soothing and it made me feel better. But then later on, the buyer's remorse sets in. And it's like, okay, I have this thing and I have that thing. I don't have room to put it anywhere. And it actually causes more stress, even though in the beginning it caused the stress to be less. Later on down the road, after a day or two of having this 20 bags of stuff that you drag in, you look at it and it's like, oh my God, now what do I do with all this stuff? And it's not making me feel any better. So I just wanted to come on and sort of share my story. But if you're struggling with this type of a problem, really try and do some looking inside yourself and seeing what happened, because that is the trigger. It's a what happened to me that caused this behavior. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, millions of people have this problem, but once you face the problem and you realize that it's not for your good health and it's not for your good mental health, it makes it a little easier to go beyond. Now, some people, I was fortunate enough that I could help myself by doing a lot of reading. I read a lot of books. I did a lot of watching of YouTube and people that had similar problems and were able to overcome them. I did a lot of writing and putting it on paper, my feelings on paper, just to get it out there, to get it out, because I didn't want that all festering inside of me and feeling bad about myself. So if you're having these struggles, maybe look to some of these things to help yourself. And if you need it, go seek professional help, because sometimes when something happens to a person, you can't get to the root of it without getting some extra help. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it takes a very strong person to say, I need help. I really need somebody to help me. And then you have to do the work. For me, and I've talked about this before, it's staying out of the stores. It's staying off of Amazon unless I really need something. Um, and that's just what I have to do to keep this under control, because now every single time that I slip back into the shopping mode, it makes me feel so bad that I bought more things that I don't need, that I just don't want to feel that way anymore. So I try and remind myself, it's like, Ellen, you're going to feel terrible. Don't do it. And then it passes. If I let it go long enough, it passes, and then I'm better for it. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody has their issues and life struggles that you have to work through. I think we're all put on this earth to learn some lessons, and we all have lessons to learn, and that we need to work through. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. But I just wanted to share that with you, and hopefully maybe it'll help somebody else. And this is such a lovely community, and the people are so supportive that, if you want to leave a comment below and you feel like you need some help and maybe some input from other people, I'm sure would be more than happy to share what has helped them. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. I do want to wish you abundant blessings. Now, that doesn't always mean material things. That means abundant blessings with family and experiences and things that make you happy. So those type of abundant blessings I do wish for you. And I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.